And good evening, everyone. Welcome back into the Dragon's Den. My name's Digital Dragon, 3D printing variety streamer here on Twitch and YouTube. So welcome on in. Hope everyone's doing well this evening. How's it going, Wick? Yeah, so sorry about starting off a little bit later today. It's just been a long day here at the shop, and we had a couple people come in to chat with, but just issues with work that were dragging throughout the day and took up a little bit more time this evening. And then, yeah, I was closing the shop by myself. Mrs. Dragon's out in Raleigh doing a Women Print 2 event. And Evil Diesel had to run home and do the parenting thing, take care of his daughter. So just me here to close things up, and just took a little bit longer to do a few things tonight. Hope everyone's doing well. Hey, Timor, welcome in. Welcome in. Yeah, hope everyone's doing well. So we've been working on the Delta Flyer. We've gotten 2 streams now, and it looks very much like a printer. We did have an issue with the mounting of the main board, and the fact that as we started to mount it, the screw holes were actually just coming apart out of the top. And work zapped all your energy today as well? Yeah. So what was happening is the bosses in here that you're supposed to be screwing down to, it was just pulling the top couple of layers out versus actually cutting threads. So what I did was I remembered to bring the taps from the house. So I went ahead and tapped the holes. Did have a complete failure on part C, so I did reprint that, but that was the one that had the busted piece anyhow. So we did reprint this, so we've got the full piece. And I did go through and tap that hole, so we should be able to do that. And as you can tell, there's some wires here. So I did go ahead and just connect the wires, just trying to figure out how everything was going. So there's some wires here that are marked hot end. But the only thing it can be is the heated bed, because the connector, well, it would fit the hot end. There's no connector for the heated bed then, and there's no connector for the thermistor for the heated, or for the hot end. And since, well, those wires come in the box with the hot end, I figured I'll just use this for this, and this will be for the heat bed. So, yeah. And I still have to plug in the wire for the bed thermistor. We'll do that too. But yeah, work kind of zapped me a little bit. It went from relatively quiet day, couple of things popped up. You know, people got, I don't want to say bent out of shape, but it was one of those things where, hey, here's a new way that we're doing this metric. Here, you have outstanding things. And that was the screen capture that was sent to me initially. Like, so did we have X number of outstanding findings? Or this is our rating, which is outstanding? Like, I don't know, right? So we went through and figured that stuff out. Come to find out, it was all stuff that was erroneously tagged against our team, because we run the tool that captures the metric. So apparently they felt that if we couldn't attribute it properly, we'll just assign it to the tool, and then they'll figure it out. Gotta love when that happens. Okay, anyhow, we're gonna stop griping about work. Where we kind of left off was on the installation of the board. And once again, the suggestion is to make sure that your USB connectors and all of that is facing towards B. And that way it gives you kind of the best ability to get everything mounted and wire routed decently. And I believe we were going to mount these with the M3x6 button head screws. So let me grab some of those. I really should go and bring the arm down so that we can try and set up an overhead view again. Let's see if me taking a couple of minutes to cut threads in these will help. So how's your day going, Timor? Hopefully better than mine was. So honestly, mine wasn't bad. It was just one of those kind of days that you just want to take a mulligan and do over. And I cannot remember who mentioned that, you know, verify the wiring for the end stops. I looked and the end stop side appears to be correct, or at least the wires are in the correct order. So we'll have to look at the pinout on the board and make sure that it is the correct way when it goes onto the board. I'm going to try and be very, very careful when I was screwing these down. So I just snug them down, but I don't really crank on them. And really, we're going to play this. Whoa. Stop. This is what's on the print. Okay. So boards installed. We have the RGB strip installed up underneath with 2 zip ties, and this is our RGB strip. Hopefully it's got enough length to make it wherever it needs to go. Run the wire to the LED to the BZ through the stop wire notches on the plate. Yes, yes, we did that. RGB strip is this. All right, so RGB strip is along this horizontal, and it's the second one in. So that's going to get plugged in like that. Be a little snug. So this is the A end stop. To go down at the bottom, and it shows red, black, white. Red being closer to the heat sink. And this does appear to be properly aligned. So there's A, this would be B. C. We'll have some motors here, and I did mark the motors with A, B, and C. So again, these wires are going to be pretty long. Not sure what we're going to do with those just yet, but we will get them cleaned up at some point. C. This one B. Either that or we'll just kind of route them down and out of the way. This is going to be the bed heater. It's going to need to come over here. Going to that first one. So a little tight. We'll get it there. The wonderful KB3D pry bar / screwdriver, complete with magnet, always keeps near the bench and handy. And it really doesn't matter polarity on here. It's basically a huge resistor, but we'll try and match. Starting your last Merc 0G. Nice. Now, is this like your last planned ever Merc 0G, or is this just the last one you plan on working on? I feel like I'm going to be playing all these wires up, around, and however we can loop them all the way around the perimeter to keep stuff from snagging, because we are going to have a fan up here as well. I'm going to have to zip tie these together some more from up and around. That. Now, the one thing that I'm really not sure of is we're going to have a power somehow. Like, this has to have power, right? And I haven't quite figured out how the power is supposed to work on this, because I don't see where the power jack they give us will connect. So yeah, I'm just kind of not sure where all that stuff. This wire up is going to have to come. You built 8 and donated them, and the last one is for you. Well, that's awesome, dude. Thank you for donating those to whomever got them. I am sure that they were very, very happy to get one. I know how much those machines cost to build, as well as how well those machines perform once built. So sure, somebody, like I said, is going to be very, very happy to have that in their arsenal. How I want to route this. Probably route this like 5 times, like the way that it's going. Mhm. Several charter school science clubs. Nice. Very nice. Said I want to try and keep these out of the way because there's going to be a fan up there. So I think I'll just grab these in this area, buckle them in. Speak. I think that'll kind of do that part. Let me grab a pair of snips. We'll snippy a few wire ties. Still have to build and mount the effector and all that good jazz, but for now we're not doing too bad on the wiring setup. Trying to stay relatively clean in the wiring. Just remembered I'm going to need the heated bed thermistor. This over and install that. Hey Waters, how's it going? May have sent an online customer today too. Well, nice, nice. I know. I have an order from somebody, but they're out of town. They're somebody I'm gonna have to ship a part to. All right, now let's see how we're gonna do this. We're going to take this, put it roughly like that so that we can flip this over on its other side. And we've got a thermistor that I forgot to install. That thermistor goes right in the middle of the bed. And it's a screw-in thermistor, so let's get that screwed in. Hey, Darth Gollum, how's it going, birthday boy? Come on, you. Printer from quite a bit away. You recommended an 85M. Okay. Oh, the 85M Pro, you don't have them? Okay, yeah, I've got the 85M Pros. I don't have the standard M's, but I do have the 85M Pros and the 85X's. Why? Okay, so this feels and appears to be an M3. And for whatever reason, it's not getting down in there. So let me see if it's just a boogered thread. Yeah, it might just be a boogered thread. Okay, we got this. I am building a 4-tool stealth changer, Waters. It's 4 tools because it's a 300 size and I put the all-wheel drive on it. And I've got 11 or 12 millimeters of spacing between the tool heads, and I don't think it could take another ant head. I think there is one other tool head that is smaller, that might be able to get a 5th head in. All right, I think that's in. What I'm going to do is grab my straight jaw pliers and just verify very, very gently. You do not want to bust this. You do not want to strip this. So yep, we're good. We're good. Full spectrum Orca. Oh, Snapmaker Orca fork. Gotcha, gotcha. Okay. Hey, Ramon, how's it going? Welcome in. Yeah, the Creator 5 Pro looks interesting. Let's see if they deliver. Come on, you little. You have to do the same thing I did before, which is take that panel off so that I can get the wire through there. Luckily, it's just a couple of screws. It's just the flange of the connector catches and doesn't come all the way through. Might have to stop stream real fast and shoot an intruder. I'm kidding, by the way. Just Mrs. Dragon coming back. Hey, Mrs. Dragon. How are you? All righty. Mrs. Dragon, you can put it right there for now because we're going to have to inventory everything that came over and find it a good home. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, we can bring this over and through with the rest of our wires. Would have been great to think about that before I zip tied everything, but that's cool. Zip ties are cheap. We can add a couple dozen more. So just be careful when you're cutting the zip tie that you don't cut one of your wires because that will give you a bad day. There's a lot of extrusions in our car for you. Yeah, thanks, Waters. All I got for you right now is thanks. I also saw the new, whatchamacallit, the new Discord server. Thanks for that as well. So all I'm going to do is pop this off and work this back up the chain to try and keep everything nice and tidy. Full spectrum as a color mixing mod. Okay. I think I had heard something about that. Somebody had mentioned something. I can't remember what it was exactly, but I know somebody had mentioned something. Oops. Let's go ahead and put that bottom panel back in there. Now these wires will go in it's like an internal channel that hangs on top of hangs onto the panel. So these cables will not look like this. We'll have them this way at first, and then we'll get our flipper image and everything going, and then we'll play from there and clean up. Hey, Free Heathen, how's it going? Yeah, I hear that I'm seeing some gray bins come in. I'm seeing some LDO stuff coming in. There's a lot of loose screws that I chose not to load into Miss Dragon's car. I am sure she was happy that you decided not to load loose screws into her car. I prefer them to be properly bagged, counted, sorted, and labeled before they come over. You have interns again, right? Something sounds like a bird getting pissed off outside. You'll get one of those done? Oh, man. All right. How's it going, Free Heathen? Hope you're doing well this evening. Hope you're doing well. So, yeah, we've got all of our quote-unquote underdeck wiring done, which is 3 motors and the heat bed, thermistor, and power. So far, just about everything's connected up top. We just did or pulled up a thermistor wire for the heated bed, so we need to make sure and get that plugged into the correct location. So let's see, there's a group of 2-pin JSTs coming across. We'll have hot end fan, part cooling fan from the tool head, controller fan in the middle. That's the one on the lid here. And then the bed sensor will skip a sensor, and then the hot end sensor is all the way at the end. So this bed sensor here is going to go there, and we'll be able to zip tie that in. Got this other one. Get a zip tie going there. You'll bring down your marker glue dispenser on the first for the meetup. Okay, sounds good. He's excited about that? Okay. Okay. Now, interestingly enough, there's a couple of spots here and a couple of spots here that look like they could be for wire ties. So this could be spots. Nothing I have seen has said it, but that we could wire tie the wires down to the top cover. Because we did that for the LEDs to make sure the LEDs don't drop. So if we get the effector on and nothing else tells me to use these, I will use those as cable tie downs to keep things right around the sides a little bit. We still need the power in, and we'll need all the hot end connectors because we don't have any of the hot end connectors done just yet. Try not to make a mess with this. Man, she just keeps coming and coming and coming. Okay. You're very excited for Smurf. Are you heading over to Smurf, Free Heathen? Avia labeled it leaflet juice. Oh, of course. Of course it did. Okay. So this is a little bit of where I'm getting. Okay, you know what, Ethan, I may have liked your post, and with the way the days are going right now, I probably liked it and since forgot it. So please be nice to the old man here. Got to cut the old man some slack. Exactly, Waters. So this is our power in barrel jack. And it says, that'll be Mrs. Dragon bringing in a bunch of loose extrusion. And the other says power SKR Pico. Well, I don't think we got a Pico here, number one. Number two, this has ferrules. And the BZ board has screw down wire terminal. So we're gonna have to make something work. And the only thing I can think of is that this is intended to mount on that ear, but then there's no cutout in this period, and there's no other cutout in here except for this that would allow us to bring power into this. And I don't, like, we expected to pop the top off to plug in the external power brick, or am I missing something? I mean, I may be missing something. I haven't even looked at the AC power adapter yet, but I'm assuming it's a brick. Yeah, kind of feels like a brick. Kind of looks like a brick. Hey, look, a brick. That takes a standard 3-prong, which we have in there as well. So is it intended then maybe that this gets put into the barrel jack and is left in there then, I would assume? Maybe pop it out if you're traveling with it. It's power brick, sir. Thank you, Heathen. I wasn't 100% sure. I was only about like 20% sure. But thank you for the clarification. Ugh. Maybe that might be what one of these tie downs is for, is to maybe tie down around the ferrule as a good way of holding it in. Because that would be the only thing I can think of. It's the only thing that, you know, this feature makes sense for. All right. So she shut the door and stopped bringing stuff in. So that means either she's fed up with it or she got everything but the heavy, heavy printer that went in there that I think a couple of people moved into the car. So, yeah. Oh, I didn't see that you brought the printer in. Sweet. So I didn't have to bring the heavy stuff in. She did it all. What a woman. Okay. So we're going to lay this down in there. Put our washer, our lock washer. Here. Let me see. Can I get a better view from the main camera? Hey, Liz, how's it going? Welcome on in. Welcome on in, Liz. Hope you're doing well. We're just working on the wiring here, and I'm going to see if we can't get a better. That was moving the wrong camera. Back over to. There we go. A little bit more of a top-down view. So what we have is a barrel jack connector. It says power in. The other side says power SKR Pico, which this is not a Pico. We're going to have to cut off the ferrules and put in some ring terminals. We know how to do that. In fact, let me check something. Yeah, we'll be able to make that. And that broke. Well, I'm glad I reprinted that because it broke again. Awesome. I'll figure that out. The Balmy 57 in Montreal. Nice. Okay, so I'm going to have to grab a couple of my screw down terminals or my heat shrink fork connectors, because that's what they're actually called. So we'll grab a couple of those. We'll grab our wire strippers, which will also count as our crimpers. And what I'm going to do is cut these off right next or right close to the base of the ferrule, because that will allow me to keep as much wire as possible, because that'll come right off. That lets me keep as much of the actual wire as possible. Strip a little bit. We don't need a lot, just a little bit. You guys come over there. There's the bad pile. Or not the bad pile, but the pile. Need the thing to shrink the tubes with too. Heat source helps for that. All right. So if we remember right from last time, and red on the left, black on the right. Make sure that your wire is in that small part of the connector, and that it's facing, I'll say up, meaning the flat part of the fork is on the downside and then it curls up around the wire. You're going to use this feature of your stripper crimper tool, and this rounded notch needs to be on the top side because that's where the seam is and the connector. Put that right there. Crimp that down. Give it a little tug, and you're good. Now we'll just have to shrink that down. We'll get a nice, good connection that's not coming off anytime soon. We're just going to rinse and repeat on the other side. All right, with that done, we're going to hit this with some heat and shrink this down. Lurkish for supper. All right, Liz, enjoy supper. Hey, Maker Viking, how's it going? Welcome in. Yeah, it's been nice here the last couple of days, though. We opened the doors to let the shop and the house air out yesterday, and I turned the heat off at the shop because the doors were open, and then we forgot to turn the heat back on before I left last night. So it's been a little bit cold today as it's been trying to heat the shop back up from, you know, the upper 50s to the upper 60s because I keep the shop around 67. That over there so it's away from me and I don't reach over and grab the hot piece. What we'll do is we'll connect this side, we'll loop it around, put it in here, and we'll see if we can get it to stay put with that piece busted off now. Give me 1 second, folks. I'm going to put you guys on mute real fast. All right, sorry about that, folks. I was trying to say goodbye to Mrs. Dragon so she could head home. And now I'm going to go over here and grab a screwdriver so that we can do the terminals. Again, it looks like the power's on the left and the ground is on the right with the way that I am looking at it. So red goes on the left. Black on the right. And this type of thing is to be expected. I believe this is a custom board that I think somebody said this is an industrial board that is being used here. So it's to be expected that it may not, or it may have some differences. And I just put that down and did not put my washers in. Hey guys, let me do it. Hey, Spidey, how's it going? You just missed Mrs. Dragon. She just returned from her event down at Ecovate for Women Print 2. And she brought back a bunch of stuff from there, took some parts to them that they needed, and He basically said, I'm out later. But I will tell you, Spidey, a few more things on your wish list are going to be coming in because I placed a filament order with Bamboo tonight. So I'll let you know when that comes in. Okay, so we're going to bring these two around. We're going to set that in there. These two kind of started. And what I'm going to do for giggles is just put this piece in place and hold it there while I cinch this down. At least that'll be the attempt I'm going to make. See if we can't squish it in there and hold it in place for the time being. Need to apply some glue of some sort or some acetone or something on there. It's kind of telling me to, nice try, old man. Yep, we'll get you a few more things off your wish list. Yep, that's not going to hold in place. So that's the second time I've busted this printed piece here. And it's an orientation thing. I mean, that vertical is a small contact surface area right at a layer line. It's just begging to be snapped in half. But that'll be good enough to get this in there for now. We'll take our power line, gonna get fed into there, plugged in. Something like that. Like I said, it does look like there's provisions for some tie downs right here. So I'm going to try my best to tie everything down so that'll help keep that connector from getting moved around. Basically provide a little bit of strain relief there. Something like that. We had one of our other local friends swing by today looking for a specific color, and we didn't have it. And I looked, and Bamboo was like, oh, it'll be here or be available for order, you know, in like, I don't know, 3 days. And so I was like, oh, well, let me know when it's available for order. And this afternoon or this evening about 5 o'clock, it popped up and said, you can order this now. I'm like, really? Why? Why did you do that to me? Not liking that. So let's see if we can't get that just wedged in there. We'll keep this around the other wires and just leave the power wire out for now from this grouping. I don't know if it's like designed to go. Maybe this goes in from the other way, and I don't know. We'll play with it. How about that? Looks like I'll be reprinting that part another time, or maybe just, I don't know. We'll do something with it. So we've now got our power brick. It's now tied in with our power circuit. What else? We still haven't done anything in the tool head itself. And with my bag of zip ties. We'll be able to extend the tool head wires out. We might even just plug everything in without yeah, let's just plug a few things in so that we can test the tool head without mounting the tool head. And the reason we're going to do that is because I still need to do all of the rods for the effector. Uh-oh, what? Look at all the great work you've done. I must have missed something there, which does not surprise me. Okay. So we've got wire and thermistor, or hot end and thermistor, so we can get these connected. So here's the hot end. Oh, so we grab the right side of the thermistor wire. So we now have the fans and the hot end wires together. Those fan wires, I guess they should be able to make it up because I believe they're all coming up the same way. Well, they should be able to. All right, so which is which? The heavier gauge is fan 1, which is the part cooling fan. So part fan will be the second one. The other fan, fan 2, is the hot end fan. And we'll have some extremely long wires that we'll be cutting down at some point, but for now they're perfectly good. Thermistor comes all the way down to the end. And the hot end itself gets connected in the second set of lug terminals. Once again, these really don't matter what orientation because they are they're agnostic of voltage, or not voltage, current direction. They're basically just a big resistor. Righty, let's try that again. Open them all the way up. Oh. What this is going to let us do is get everything powered up, and we'll be able to flash the board and do all that goodness tonight. Feel what? Me yawning? Yeah. Okay. So at this point, everything in our tool head is connected. So we've got our thermistors, our fans, our hot end. What could we be missing? Missing anything? Our Wi-Fi antenna is missing, and our extruder. We're good without the extruder for now. We'll build that. Might just build that off stream. It's a standard BMG extruder. And we should have put our Wi-Fi fan on here earlier. These things can be either easy or a pain in the butt to get put on. And I think this one's going to be a pain just because I waited. On you. Oh, I think we got it. Think we got it. Probably want to bring this around away from the power as much as possible. Okay, so we got the Wi-Fi connected. We have everything connected. We'll be able to test the tool head and stuff. Let's see. Install the wire covers, which we'll do once we get our actual effector connected upright. That later. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sitting here scrolling through like you guys can see the window that I'm. So we've just been working on this, and plugging all the wires in. We've got the Wi-Fi in, the hot end, bed sensor. The controller fan is the one that goes here on the top. This one is not plugged in. Part fan, the hot end fan, RGB strip, A, B, and C end stops, the A, B, and C motors. The hot end is plugged in, the bed is plugged in, and the power in is plugged in. So I think at this point, we just need to run through the Clipper install manual, start that process. We'll go full display so that we can look at this. We have, once again, we just validated that everything was wired up. It does say remove any jumpers plugged into the board, remove them all. Consider labeling the motor wires to ease in identifying them. I did. I mean, the lower side is relatively easy. They're connected to the motors, and the label is right next to the motor. And then I labeled the actual plug at the top end. Hot end embedded wires have no positive or negative. They can be in any orientation. Yep. Okay. You need to make sure that all the jumpers have been removed. They're saying that again. That's very, very critical. And then you need to make sure there's two little switches on the board. One needs to be set to OTG Type C. The other needs to be set to H16 RP2040. So that second one denotes whether or not you've got dual Raspberry Pi 2040s, one acting as the MCU and one acting as the host controller. In this case, we have an H616 chip acting as the host controller and the RPi 2040 acting as the MCU for the chip. It takes the place of the standard STEM32 type setup. So we're going to kind of follow through the process here. It says we need a Balana etcher or another imaging software, Angry IP scanner to figure out what IP address it got, the CB1 image. Once again, that H616 is acting as the CB1, so we need to install a CB1 image. Orca slicer and the config bundle to get everything set up. Now, I went ahead and downloaded all of this yesterday after we streamed yesterday, so we don't have to worry about trying to download stuff. We're just going to get it going. Now, the kit does come with a 32 gig SanDisk card. We just need to break that out. And hopefully you've got a card reader nearby. Oh, so we'll throw that away and hope and pray that we have a card reader that'll work on this machine. Luckily, I brought some things from the house last night, so I've got my little USB card reader that we've used in the past. We are probably going to need our keyboard. And we will need our USB extension cable. So load that SanDisk in there. Stick that in there. Hear the little beep beep. Always good. It says unzip the CB1 image file, insert the SD card, and rip away. So need to bring up Balana etcher. Way. Again. We're going to flash from file. Grab that CB1 image. Select the target. Could be the 32 gig generic. Say flash. Windows wants permission. Do something. Yes. Do it. Okay. So it's going to run through the flash process. While it's doing that, how's everybody doing? What's everybody up to? Anybody printing any big projects? Anybody printing any big projects or doing any fun projects? Nobody doing anything fun? Did I lose everybody? Everybody just dropped off? Polymaker was more fun? You tried to load 100 maker chips on the Artisan. The Orca slicer did not like that. Yes. Sorry about that. Yeah, Orca slicer and trying to load a large number of maker chips because of all the swaps, and it treats everyone like a separate object so that you can skip if one starts failing. It really, really chugs it down. Ran some custom photo hue forge for customers. Nice, Spidey. I still need to get some stuff over to Daniel, Neokoi Prints, so that he can get me print or some files. Working on Tinker Atlas. Well, that makes sense. I need to actually get out there on Tinker Atlas and throw some stuff on there. Design another maker chip and painted some models. Nice. Let me grab what I've been working on. I say that, and then I got to figure out, oh. It got put on the ground for another printer. So here's where we are so far. This is 5 big hull pieces. Let's go main. Pull up main window. Yeah, so this is five hull pieces. There's still 2 more pieces and then the rear. And then there's a whole nother deck that goes on and a bunch of accoutrements that'll go on the side and the back. But yeah. We are seeing, I don't know if it'll show up here. You kind of see that there's this line right here. So what that is that coincides with the thickness of the bottom plate. What's happening is you've got this full length piece and then it starts working up the side, and that's where it starts to cool, and it kind of, it does curl up a little bit, and that's what's causing that line. But you'll see that on a lot of big prints because it starts to cool as it's moving away from that. And you've got that big piece down there, and it's just where it cools unevenly. But this is going to be about 45 inches long when it's all said and done. And I've got all of the deck panels done for the carrier deck. And let me grab one of those and I'll show you something. Great, that finished. Let me pop this off. And I can show you the difference and what I did to change this. Maybe. Can't print the other one just yet. I'm going to have to send that from the laptop. So, you know, we're printing out the deck pieces, right? The top deck pieces. And you'll notice on this one, there's a goof on the top. So what's happening here is we're doing 4% infill, and it's trying to do a color change right here, which the color change, because it's a few layers thick, there's no, it doesn't like do a full overlay as it's doing the gray and then finish it out. It's only going right to the edge. So it peeled up right there because it didn't have enough support. Okay, so what I did was I increased the number of layers, and I also increased the amount of support from 4% to 10%. So when we reprinted it, that's all gone. Now there's one other piece that had a similar thing that I'll have to reprint. And then there was another piece that I have to reprint that butts up right here. And the whole reason I'm having to reprint that is because instead of making the little joiner piece right here yellow, I made it white. So I have to redo that piece because of a little corner piece came out the wrong color. But all in all, it's coming out great. It's a really, really cool print. It's by Titan 3D, so titan3d.com. And they have all the files out there, and they're really, really cool. So on that one, I prefer cubic, right? I prefer cubic because it gives you three-dimensional support or strength. I hate grid with a passion. Grid is just asking for print failures and annoying sounds. And gyroid is awesome to look at, but it shakes the bejesus out of your printer. So I tend to stay away from gyroid as well. Gyroid, whichever. So what I did there when I changed it and resliced it, I upped the infill a little bit from 4 to 10%, which will add more infill. But I also went to support cubic, I believe. And so that provides, it adds more skin layers to it. So triangles only gives strength in 2 dimensions. It only adds additional strength in 2 dimensions. You'd be better off, what is it? I think it's like tripolygons. It's the orientation of the triangles. So I believe tripolygons, instead of the triangle being flat like this, it puts it on the point so that it's the way it orientates the triangle that gives the strength in all 3 dimensions. And there was like 6 by default, and then any of the flavors like cubic, quarter cubic, adaptive cubic, support cubic, they're all strength in 3 dimensions. Triangle is one that only does it in 2. But it's, like I said, I believe it's the tri-polygon or something like that that flips it up on the edge, which gives it the strength in all 3, and it's just the orientation. Grid, stay away from grid. Too many chances because you're doing a line in one, you're doing all your lines in one direction, and then it turns around in the same layer height and goes the other direction, which just causes your spool head to jump and skip, which is bad. Okay, so it removes the disk automatically. It ejects it. It wants me to reconnect it. Did it. Did it reconnect it automatically? It did not. So I'm going to pull it out, put it back in. So, whoops. And it is reading that disk again. So I want you to scan the drive now and fix it. Stop trying to be helpful. Go away. Boot F. So we're being told to okay, next pull the SD card out, put it back into the computer, navigate in Explorer and find the system.cfg file and open it in a text editor. Okay. If you are on a Windows machine, do not use Windows Text Editor. Okay? Repeat that. Do not use Windows Text Editor. Right-click this, select Open With, and you can open it in Visual Studio. That'll work. Or Edit with Notepad++. One of those will work. If you use Notepad, it will guaranteed fork you. Okay? It will guaranteed fork your file. So, what we want to do is come in here, and where our Wi-Fi name is, we're going to uncomment that line, uncomment the password line, and we're going to put in our information. You're going to see this. This is our standard printer Wi-Fi. And there we go. Save that file, close it out. Then, if you're like me, you're going to double check that you got the right SSID, because we're running like 4 of them here. Because we can't just have one. We've got one for us, one for the printers, and the guest. So, and I spelled it right, so that's good. All that was. Okay, so we got our Wi-Fi config set up. Make sure to keep the apostrophes there. You do not want to take those out. Pull the SD card from your computer after safely ejecting it. Put it in the micro SD card slot on the M4P. It's not M4P. And remember, the CB1 can only connect to the 2.4 Wi-Fi. So if you're not transmitting 2.4, you're going to have problems. The other thing we could have done was add a host name and given it a host name. Let's actually do that real fast. Here's the host name up here at the top. So we're going to change the host name from BigTreeTech-CB1. And we're going to name it DD3D hyphen flyer. How about this? Instead of Delta Flyer, we're going to call it Dragonfly. That'll make Mrs. Dragon happy. Save the changes, close the file, close our editor, and now we can eject that card. Say to remove the hardware. Let's pull that out. Grab our SD card and find the slot. All right, that's slotted in. And I've got a power cable sitting underneath here that we can plug in. So we'll plug that in. Hopefully we see no sparks. No sparks. I'm going to keep that screen up. Move that one over there. Switch over here. A little bit smaller on the instruction stream and more cool on the printer, right? So we should be able to find our machine now. I am seeing some lights over here on the board. We are getting little flashies, so that's good. Reading the board, I believe it's talking on the Wi-Fi. So the question is whether or not it will come up nicely. So DD3D-dragonfly.local. Negative Ghost Rider, that pattern is. All right. So, giving it a little time to do its initial boot. It takes longer the first time, not longer than 5 to 10 minutes. We'll give it a little bit. Well, Waters, since our effector is free floating with no arms, we're not going to get a first print tonight. We are going to try and get our software loaded up. And what I'm going to work on, sorry, I'm going to be doing this off the stream. I did print the little jig, and I'm going to work on getting our arms built because that's done with epoxy. I'm going to have to make sure and dry fit everything and test the process out first because I got 5-minute epoxy. So sets in 5 minutes, can be moved in 10, and is fully cured, I believe it is, in an hour. So you missed a bit, you ate dinner with the wife. Well, very good. Then why did you come back? Spend time with the wifey. She gets mad at you when you don't do that. Meanwhile, mine comes in, unloads a bunch of parts, and then walks out. And I do mean a bunch of parts. I'll show you guys this is booting up. I'll take a look and see if it'll pop up again. We say DD3D. Dragonfly.local. Yep. It doesn't like that. So let's try looking for it with the Angry IP scanner. Huh. Oh, doesn't look like that's going to work either. Bear with me. And let me grab my laptop because I should be able to find it with my laptop because it'll let me do the .local where Windows doesn't like to play. And like I said, this piece, that triangle was supposed to be yellow, not white. So we got to reprint this whole piece because I painted that the wrong color. Mistakes were made. Hey, Tinkering Techie, how's it going? We are having fun. We've got the electronics installed. The tool head is wired up and free floating. And what we're going to try and do is see if I can find the IP address for this. Normally the window, or, oh crap, it is not picking this up. That stinks because I don't know the Wi-Fi login. Evil Diesel set it up and I don't know the Wi-Fi login. Angry IP scanner was not working over there. Let's see if Angry IP Scanner works better on my Mac than it does over there on Windows. Well, we might be stuck. Do you have another printer you can use to check the Wi-Fi credentials to verify? Yeah, I've got about 30 of them here in the shop that are on that Wi-Fi network. Credentials are verified. And I'm pretty, so here's my issue is, I can grab my camera and bring it. Okay, so the issue is not that the credentials are bad. The issue is I don't have the credentials to the router to log into the router and see what IP address it was given. It's not coming up with the .local, like name resolution, which doesn't surprise me because our DNS is set to Cloudflare, not local. So oh yeah, I hope his back is doing better. Mine's doing better. Luckily, mine was just a back strain. Yes, correct. So I was hoping that I could be able to find it on the Mac, and the Mac won't resolve it either. Which is weird. So, what do I do? Well, we're going to do a non-graceful power down. Oh, yeah. We're going to do a non-graceful power down by unplugging it, because shutting off the power strip that the plug's not connected to doesn't actually shut it down. So we've killed power. We're going to pull the SD card. Big fingers, tight space. Pull the SD card. And of course, this takes a full-size SD card. Let's grab one of those adapters. See if I can look at this on the Mac real fast. I'm going to try and do some things. You aren't running a local-only wireless LAN for testing and configs. So once again, we've got a wireless for the store systems, like our laptops and the POS. We've got a separate wireless only set for 2.4 for the printers. The only way to get between the two is going through the network switch, all of which Evil Diesel set up, none of which I actually have the passwords for, because Evil Diesel set them up. And of course, Mac goes, I recognize that as Linux, and I'm not going to let you do anything with it. So we get to move the MacBook out of the way and play Chinese fire drill with everything again. We're going to put this back over here in the Windows box and see what we can pull up. And that answer might be nothing. I heard it connect. There we go. It helps if it's fully inserted into the adapter. Got it up. I am going to double check the information that I put in. Ethernet's turned on. Wireless LAN's turned on. See about giving it a time zone. What is the standard time zone? US/New York? Maybe that's what it is. All right, sounds good, Waters. There's no clipper screen. I don't need to worry about that. And I did verify that the credentials are correct. And they were not, because I'm an idiot. Now they are correct. Close that, drop that. That. If you put in the right SSID, it will work better. Promise you. Now let's give this a little bit of a try. Powering back on. All the blinkies are blinking. It just really does not want to play. Okay. All right. So it's up and we got an IP address. And here we go. Welcome to the Delta Flyer. It has basically what we've installed on this is the CB1 Clipper image. Okay. What they suggested, I hope I don't have any issues because I never do it this way. I always do minimal and then run Kaya because I have no idea what they've installed in the back end or how they did it. So we shall see. As you see, we've got the big red sign here, meaning something is not set up right. Include files and a bunch of other stuff are not right. So what we're going to do is follow the instructions. Printer up, give it some time. After the printer is booted up, we need to find the IP of the printer. We've now found that. Let's open the IP in the browser, see if we can connect to the printer that way first. That's what we just did. While we are in here, let's do some cleanup and get ready to transfer the config files. Go to the Machine tab, press the Create Directory icon, and let's create a folder called Old. Come down here to the Machine tab. Create a folder. We're going to call it Old. Okay. And it says, now let's move some files in by dragging, and let's move the printer config, printer area bed mesh config files. We do this mostly as a good habit. There's nothing worse than doing something and realizing you need it later. So we're just going to basically move. So we're going to grab printer config, move it up to old. The area bed mesh, move that to old. Okay. Everything else here is just basic standard files. Now we can open the config bundle in a file explorer and drag the printer.cfg into the main cell browser window. This will copy it onto your printer. So over here, in the very main thing where we brought up the build manual and the Clipper install tutorial, there's the Clipper config, which is the printer config file. There's the wiring diagram image, the mainboard manual. There's an Orca slicer profile that we'll pull down, and the build plate model and texture that we'll pull down. So I've pulled down this printer config file already. What we're going to do is come over here. We're in the main directory still, and we're going to upload a file. and we'll come over to our downloads and be looking for called printer config, and I would have assumed it would have been at the top. Name. Hit go. That's not, oh, you know what? Man, not there. Printer config. Downloaded February 16th, 2026. This is probably it. I'm going to select that. Open, says me, and it loads it. So we're going to click on that now. Just take a look at it. It does say Delta Flyer refit, config by Canrog. So there we go. That is the right file. This will copy it into your printer. Press save and restart at the top window to power cycle the printer. And you should have a good config and it should be up and running. We're going to click the save and restart. Everything goes well. It comes up. It shouldn't take an ADC error or anything like that. Go back to the dashboard. Everything has come up. We're getting temperatures from the extruder and the heater bed. We have temperatures from the host and temperatures from the MCU. The host would be the H616 chip. The MCU would be the little Pi 2040 chip. Okay? Everything seems to be there. You'll see we have a ton of macros set up here. And we can do things like stepper buzz A, B, and C motors so we can make sure they go in the right way. There's all kinds of calibration tools here that we'll get into. We have some fans. So this is the part cooling fan. The controller fan would be the one at the top. It would be set to go off at a normal time, and the hot end fan will go off if we heat up the hot end. So what we're going to do is full display. Let's go to this camera. Go. Let me zoom in. Select the right camera when you zoom in. There's our hot end. Not sure if you can see this or not. We'll go to the main bench or the browser window while I do this. So what we're going to do is we're just going to test the extruder and make sure that the extruder heats up when we tell it to. So I'm going to tell the extruder to go to 150. And the hot end fan goes on. Or I'm sorry, not the extruder. Yeah, the extruder. So the hot end's now heating up. The fan's coming on. We're on the wrong window, or the wrong, darn it, tripod. So this fan is coming on, and this should be heating up. I'm going to say, yes, it is. We're at 150. Go ahead and tell it to go back down to 0. And we're going to let it cool down. We may even kick on the fan down here. The controller fan is getting power now as well. So if we had the controller fan plugged in, it should be rolling. Everything else is running fine, so it should be lighting up the, oh, We have lights. There are literally lights on for each of the fan components. So when a fan is supposed to be on, it comes on. The controller fan is stopped. So that light went out. So that tells me that the controller fan is working. We're getting some pretty good airflow out of our tri-horn as well. I'm just trying to cup it to help it cool the hot end down a little bit faster, because what I'm waiting to do is this should kick off when it hits 50C. So if everything's configured right, it comes on when you're told to go above 50C, and it should kick off once you drop below 50C. So and by the way, if you see any smoke coming off of a brand new hot end, don't freak out. Don't freak out. If it's coming from the wires or something, freak out. If it's coming from the actual hot end itself, around the nozzle, don't freak out. It's just cooking off whatever oils and stuff were left from the machining process. That does happen from time to time. Down to 51, 50. We just dropped beneath. Interesting, it's still on. We're down to 47. Five. Below 40 and that fan is still on. I do not know why. Well, I assume I know. I say I don't know why. We're going to look at the printer config real fast for that fan. See what our heater fan is set to shut off. 35. So when the hot end cools below 35, it'll shut off. Normally we have those set to 50C. It's set to 35. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is kind of move these wires off, and I'm going to actually set this right up here, and we're going to try and heat our bed up and see if our bed warms up. So these are just standard checks. Does our bed warm up if we tell it to? Bed thermistor is moving in the positive direction, or the bed temperature is moving in a positive direction. Controller fan would be on. I am seeing the light on that particular heating element. And I am feeling it start to get warm to the touch. So we're going to have to run PID tunes and stuff on that, on both the hot end and the bed. We can do that on the bench theoretically, but we'd want it in its environment for all of that. So at this point, we've got basic clipper installed. We're gonna have to work our way through this, excuse me, the calibration settings, PID settings, and all that good stuff. That said, I believe this is where we're gonna call it for the night. We do need to set up those rods, and like I said, I will work that off stream, getting the rods set up, and we've got to get the arms set up, and then get the rods and the infector installed. We'll try and get the rods built tomorrow so that Thursday when we come back, we can do the actual setup and get the effector hung. Then we can work on cleaning up the wires. Yeah, and then we'll go from there. But yeah, we're getting close to getting it moving under its own power. We'll run through the calibration stuff and work on getting that done. Well, we've got Orca installed, so I don't need to install Orca. We just need to install an Orca profile and other stuff like that. So we made really good progress today is where we're at. So we made really good progress. That was probably one of the simplest installs and just general verification. We get the effector hung. We can do the, I guess the other thing we can do are the motors. Okay. One other thing I want to do real fast while we're here. Go here. So we're going to come over here to the machine and we're going to refresh our install. So C is triggered. A, B, C is triggered, and none of these are near the flags, right? None of the flags are nearby. So if I raise this up and get that flag into the halt, well, if I remove the rubber nub, so I can take the flag all the way up. Does that change? Okay, so C is staying triggered whether the flag's up there or not. Let me check A and B. Oh, what was that? Okay, interesting. I just got burned on the end stop. Yeah, the end stops aren't working and the end stops got hot. Or at least one of them did. This end stop on A is hot. Yeah. So power is off. And we're going to have to figure that out because it looked like everything was wired up correctly, right? I looked at it's running 24 volts when it should be 5. How do you change the in-stop voltage? How do we? Yeah, that was hot. I mean, it's going, they're connected into the in stops. Just trying to look through the manual real fast to figure out, because yeah, that was unexpected. X, Y, E, O. Where's the? Yeah, I don't know. Not seeing the. I'm gonna have to dig through here and figure out where the in stops are and verify the pinouts on the in stops, because that was interesting. Because those are the motor interfaces. I'm not even seeing the in stop interface listed in here, unless I missed them. Like I said, I'm not sure. I mean, I removed all of the jumpers like we were told to. We weren't told to put any jumpers back in. LED, it doesn't even refer to the end stops that I saw in here. I'll have to do a little bit of research. Top 0 D Y X probe. Ah. Okay. There's the issue. I plugged A into the probe port, so all of these are off by 1. So yeah, A would have just gotten 24 volt for the probe, I believe. Because no jumpers are set. So the question is did I just blow that in stop? And the light still comes on. Not heating up. That's good. Got disco lights. So let's see, now that we're there, all the end stops are open. If I bring A up and trigger, A's not triggering. B's not triggering. And C's not triggering. So yeah, that was me. I plugged them into the wrong port. It looks like it's still operational, but they're all none of them are triggering. So is there something in the printer config that mentions the stops? And actually, you know what? We're going to try this again. Sorry, folks. I am going to call the stream. It is 10:30, and tomorrow's going to be a long day because I got the standard 9 to 5, finishing up with the shop closure, and then I got to run to a class for tomorrow night. So I got to call it so I can go home and get some sleep. Otherwise, I'm going to be staring at the screen trying to figure out what's going on with it. So thank you all for being here, both here on Twitch and on YouTube. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Hopefully everybody in YouTube land enjoyed the stream as well. Let me see. Let's see. It's Tuesday, 10:30. Can somebody check real fast? Do we have anybody online like a Big Jano? Big Jano up? Oh, yep, there he is. All right. Let's get a rig going over to Big Jano. See if I got that set up right. Yep, we did. All right. All right, everybody, we're going to head over to Big Jano. Thank you very much for being here. You all have a great evening, and I'll see you next time, which should be Thursday. We'll see you guys back here on Thursday, and we'll start digging into the firmware a little bit more, figure out our in-stops triggering, as well as getting our arms done and installed. Y'all have a great night. Bye. Stay safe. See you later.